Every small town has a story, and we're here to shine a light on the people, places, and moments that make ours unforgettable. Welcome to the Small Town Bold Stories podcast. On today's episode of the podcast, we talk with Ben Smith of Smith Family Farms here in Meade County, Kentucky. He and his wife, Haley, have a direct-to-consumer business selling beef and pork and some other products as well. And they tell us stories about how they got started as first-generation farmers here in Meade County and how their business has grown and some of the struggles and the triumphs that they've had as well. Let's get into it. Well, welcome to the podcast, Ben. Thanks so much for coming on. Give us a little bit of background about yourself, introduce yourself, and what you all do here in the county.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks for having me on. And I'm quite the consumer of these podcasts, but I never have been on one before. So
First time for everything.
hopefully I don't tank your reviews or anything like that. But so my name is Ben Smith. I farm with my wife, Haley, here in Meade County, Kentucky, just outside Brandenburg. And we operate a cow-calf operation. That's sort of our bread and butter. We market several different ways, which we'll talk about here in a second. We also have some hogs that are on the farm as well that we direct market to consumer. But the cow-calf is really our base. And we're all 100% grass farm. We'll talk more about that too here later. But that's sort of the shortened scope, I guess, of our farming operation. We do sell some square bale hay here and there, but the cattle, the direct marketing, and the seed stock marketing, which we'll get into also, is sort of our thing. Gotcha. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, before we get into it, I know you talked about podcasts and how much you like them. So if you pick one, what would your favorite one be?
Oh my goodness, this is tough. So I go back and forth about 5 different ones. Probably Rancher Interns podcast.
Okay.
Jared Lynn, the host.
Gotcha.
Yep. It's
okay. This is just kind of an off the wall one, but if you had to pick a mascot for like our town and our community, what would it be? Would it be a cow?
Well, I don't know. Gosh, I really do love the idea of the Green Wave on Meade County High School. So I would have to go with Green Wave.
Okay, just pick the Green Wave. That's fair. And then like a theme song for your business with Haley and they're on the farm if you had to pick one.
Oh my gosh. That's tough. We may need to circle back to that.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure something will come to.
We'll come back with it later. So you and Haley are first generation, but you're not first generation to agriculture in the business. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you all are today.
Absolutely. So both Haley and I have agriculture backgrounds. Our families have agriculture backgrounds. But the reality was when we graduated college, there wasn't really a family operation on either side to just come back and step right into. Mm-hmm. And, we had some ideas about how we wanted to do things too of our own. So almost having or not having that ability sort of made it easier to go out and kind of, I guess,
do what you wanted in a way.
Yeah, pave our own way, so to say. So we do have, like I said, agriculture backgrounds. Her family here in Meade County. I'm from the north central part of the state. But I grew up there. My parents have been there for a long time. They were transplants actually themselves. So
okay.
I guess you could say I'm a geographical mutt, sort of makeup of all these different areas, but that's been good. So yeah, we both have an ag background, both have ag degrees.
Sure.
That's actually where we met. We were both animal science degrees, majors, and graduated, got married.
And came here, right?
Yeah, came back here. I brought my cows with me.
Yep. So that first one at 5 is when you purchased that, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. So, I've heard it said a lot of times, people in agriculture say you get bit by the bug, right?
I think that's fair.
And I guess the bug bit me pretty early on because that's really all I was interested in. We had a small farm growing up, lived in a rural area, so I was always intrigued by farming, especially on the livestock side. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when I was 5, I saved up some birthday money, had some Christmas money, and bought a bottle calf for $50. Okay. And did that a few more times, built up a little bit of cash, and then bought my first beef steer. And when I could finally afford to buy a beef animal, I thought it was pretty big time, right?
I would say so.
So did that a couple more years. And then I bought a registered heifer when I was 12.
Wow. So people that don't know, tell us kind of the difference between a registered animal and a commercial animal and what that means so people can kind of clear that up.
Absolutely. So just like dogs, cats, horses, there's different breeds of livestock. And for beef cattle, we have different breeds as well. Some are straight bred, purebred animals that we've kept lineage on, data and registrations on through our registered agencies or associations.
Angus, Hereford,
absolutely. Yeah.
Those are kind of the main ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So well, I guess we have two breeds. One is our seed stock breed, that's polled Herefords, and then we also have a herd of crossbred cows that are mostly Angus, commercial Angus crosses. We can talk about how we blend those in here later.
Sure.
But yeah, so from 12, just kind of built. Very active in high school.
And you had a pretty good sized herd by the time you graduated, too, right?
I always came back to the cow. That was really always my passion. Went out and did a lot of different things, played sports, but really had the love for livestock. So kept that. I was very active in 4-H.
Sure.
Something else kind of interesting, I guess.
I think everybody in rural America has some start in 4-H or FFA. It seems like.
Well, a lot of people, it's just a start. Mine was a start and an end in 4-H.
Okay.
I went to a really small high school. We actually didn't have FFA.
Gotcha.
But I stayed in 4-H till I was 18, which is kind of unique.
All the way through. Most people don't.
Yeah, most people don't. So, I feel like I was a recipient of a lot of really, really good things from that. And it just kept that passion and knowledge coming. So built that herd. And then, went off to college. My parents and brother were gracious enough to take care of it while I was going. And then graduated, moved down here, and we expanded the herd. So, yeah.
So now you're expanded. Tell us about kind of the operation itself and the size and how that's grown. And then we can kind of get into exactly what you're offering.
Absolutely. So, like I said, the cow is really the base of our operation. So we have approximately 30 mother cows, mature cows on the registered polled Hereford side.
Okay.
And we breed those and sell essentially bulls and heifers out of those. Very few cows we don't sell. If you make it a cow in that herd, we're probably going to keep you for the long haul.
She's there for...
But we market seed stock from that herd, sell across the state, as well as surrounding states.
Gotcha. We tell people kind of what seed stock means exactly if they're not familiar with the industry.
Yeah, so essentially we are making moms and dads in cow terms, sires and dams for other breeders.
Okay.
So we keep data on these animals. There's all these cool technologies we have available, like DNA testing.
Mm-hmm. There's tons of data points.
Absolutely. It's I'm not going to say it's easier to make a good animal because there's just so much you can get bogged down with too. Yeah. It's a lot of distractions. So I think for us, and especially for me as a seed stock breeder, we really have to keep, I hate to say narrow focus, but I almost have to keep the blinders on and breed for that ideal animal that we think is best going to help our customer.
Sure.
Because, and we'll come back to that again, customer service means a whole lot to us. So we absolutely do that. We market those heifers and bulls to other folks to use in their herds. And then on our crossbred herd, we also sell a select few replacement heifers to other folks. And then all the males we typically keep back and finish those at about 20 to 24 months of age. And we take those to a regional processor, actually 2 processors, and sell that direct to consumer beef through several farmers markets, as well as we do drop offs, home deliveries.
To get it to somebody.
Absolutely. Again, customer service.
Sure.
Yep.
So kind of tell us, the life cycle, I guess, of what it looks like. So an animal is born on the farm. It pretty much stays there until it's taken to the processor.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we really pride ourselves on, is every animal that we process is born there on the farm. We're not buying in any calves from somebody else or, the local stockyards or cell-born. Everything is there. We are conception to fork, essentially, right? So that way we get to know exactly what went into that animal. And we can also tell our customer with 100% accuracy that we gave that animal its best life.
Sure.
And that animal welfare piece is so big, right? As we know, we have a very large divide in between our consumer base and our production agriculture. And people are really wanting to know how these animals were treated.
Rightly forward to them. It seems like most people, if they know kind of the backstory,
absolutely,
they feel like they're getting a better product too.
We're selling a product and a story.
Yeah.
And that's so important to keep in mind. And like I mentioned to you before, we also pride ourselves on sort of being a glass window as far as our operation. We welcome customers. Even if you're not a customer, we still welcome you. We'll show you what we're doing. We're not going to hide anything because we feel very confident in what we're doing.
Yeah.
So
you raise the animal there on the farm, then you take it to the processor. You said there's 2 processors in the state that you all pair.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, process, the calf is born. It's going to stay with his mother until about 8 to 10 months of age. At that time, we'll wean it. We'll give it a couple basic vaccinations just to ensure its health and well-being, just like if you sent your kid off to school, they would be vaccinated. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to keep those animals on grass and give them the best life possible. We don't really feed them in a feedlot area. They're still on pasture their whole life. Now, up until about that 18 months of age, they're all grass and hay, no grain whatsoever. The last 2 to 3 months before we take them to a processor, we'll supplement with some grains.
Okay.
A lot of times people ask us, well, are you grass fed or are you grain fed? We're somewhere in between.
And that's really probably what you want for the best flavor and marbling of the meat, too, I would say.
Absolutely. We love those animals on pasture, but the reality is most Americans aren't used to the flavor and taste of 100% grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
And we learned that through going up, talking to a lot of chefs in several cities, Louisville, Cincinnati, Nashville, and we were trying to build some customers, but we learned a whole lot talking to those professional chefs. And they said at least provide some grain towards the later part of that animal's life.
I think for the longest time I can remember everybody's like, oh, you don't want any fat, but fat's really what makes the meat good and gives it the flavor and everything that you want.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And I think there's been a lot of misconceptions about the consumption of animal fat too, from a nutritional standpoint. So, and that's another thing too. We really do believe in what we're doing, not just for these animals, but for our consumers as well. We're providing a safe, wholesome, and really highly nutritious product, very nutrient dense product to those customers. And I love it when we get good reviews. Obviously, anybody does, no matter what business.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I think it hits a little different when it's something that somebody's putting in their body and consuming it, and they can literally feel the difference in that product and what it provides them. So that's really, really cool.
It's so local too. So I'm sure a lot of your customer base is local to this area, right?
Absolutely. We've had a lot of requests actually to ship. Could you get it to this state, that state? And we looked into it. We figured out all the business side behind it, and we could make it work. But, we kind of just sat back down and said, what are we really after? What are we kind of do? And we really didn't want to lose that local piece to it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people in, California, Virginia, Georgia, they're doing the same thing. We're going to let those local farmers feed their local people. I'm not going to ship my beef out of state and step on their toes. I'm going to take care of my people here, my community.
Well, that's what's so great about this community is I rally behind things in this thing so well that I just don't think that's anywhere else. It's just amazing how they support local businesses.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because obviously I am a transplant this area. And one thing I would love to say is I really have been welcomed to this community when a lot of people didn't have to. And I've felt very welcome and been a recipient of a lot of good things that have come out of that. So it's been a great experience being here.
Good. So as far as the meat goes, it's processed, and then kind of what does that look like after it's at the processor? How quick does it come back before it's on somebody's table?
Absolutely. So I love to say that is the most important 14 days in the process. Our beef hangs for 14 days after it gets to the processor. Having that dry age that only a small beef locker is able to do. It is so imperative for the meat quality, I believe, and I really think that's a big part of what sets it apart from say store-bought beef. Nothing wrong with that, right?
It's just a different product.
It's just a different product.
So is 14 days kind of the sweet spot? I know you go to some restaurants and they say 30-day dry aged beef or some crazy number.
Yeah.
I know you lose a lot of the product when you do that, but is 14 kind of that sweet spot? Why is 14 important?
Yeah, I think it is a sweet spot. If we went any further, our processor would have to charge us a little bit more just for the hanging space. And their coolers, which I totally understand. They're busy. They're bringing beef in and out of there all the time. So if we brought them 10 and they had to hang on to it for, a few weeks, that's going to take down hanging space from other customers. So there's a business side of it where we would have to pay a whole lot more to do that. And then also, like you said, we will lose some weight on that carcass that the laundry hangs too. I would love to be able to offer some select products like that. It just hasn't really worked out so far, but it's something we're definitely open to in the future. But right now, 14 days is good for us.
So is that only on the beef side, or is pork kind of the same way as well?
Yeah,
similar period.
That's a good question. So that is just on the beef side.
On the beef.
The pork is typically a 4 to 5 day turnaround.
Okay. So it doesn't have to hang. It doesn't really get a bread fit if it's hanging on a road for a longer period of time compared to beef.
Yeah. And not to go on a tangent, but that just reminded me talking about the processor. That's been a whole interesting process since the COVID-19 pandemic, right? I'm sure a lot of people in agriculture especially know, or if you just have a couple animals, you're trying to get processed, the logistics has gotten 10 times more complicated.
Crazy.
Yeah, we had our dates for 2020 going into it, and I remember we got a phone call in March. I'll never forget. And I wasn't in the processor, but it was a processor here in the state, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna have to cancel you all. Don't feel bad. You're not the only ones, right?" So we had all these beefs lined up. We had these customers we were going to deliver to. So the two processors that we do work with now, they took us in. And that really meant a lot to us in a tough time there during 2020. So we've stuck with them ever since then. So
Gotcha. And then too, since you're selling it, that kind of makes it a little bit more complicated too, because there's no guidelines you have to follow there. It can't just be any processor either, correct?
Absolutely. In the state of Kentucky, to resell beef the way we do, or other products for that nature, pork, chicken, lamb, goat, it has to be USDA inspected.
Okay.
So that processor has a USDA facilitator there, or an employee of the USDA, and they inspect that animal as it goes through that process and slaughter process there.
And that's really just to make sure that it's a quality product. Safe.
Absolutely. Yeah, food safety. Absolutely. The food safety is the biggest piece to that, which obviously we're totally fine with, because we want to provide a good product to our customers. So,
but there's only so many of those producers that are able to meet that guideline, so that makes it even more tricky.
Absolutely, and these processors are so busy. No, really, ever since 2020, we've had to schedule at least a year out in advance.
That's tough to do.
I've scheduled beef animals that weren't born yet.
Wow.
Full process.
Knowing and hoping you'd have something.
Right. So just that backflow of logistics has been quite the challenge to get used to. Another thing too that I would love to touch on is a lot of people think a beef animal is one big ribeye, right? There's a lot more that goes. It'd be nice. That'd be nice if it was, maybe, at least from a dollars and cents standpoint. We have to move, doing this direct to consumer business, we have to move every single cut.
Okay.
And there's ebbs and flows in that.
Yeah.
Some things sell faster than others. A lot of times it's seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
We also see a little bit of ebb and flow on just the overall economy. People will buy beef. They'll buy pounds of beef. But the kind of factor is, are they buying a filet mignon or are they buying ground beef?
Yeah.
Right. We also really like the fact that we have a really broad spectrum of customers. Right.
Okay.
Different socioeconomic classes, which is great, because we have something that fits everybody's budget, and it's a great product, and it's safe, it's wholesome. So we really do love selling to just a multitude of people with different backgrounds. I think we sell to maybe 4 or 5 different ethnicities. So it's awesome. We've learned so much.
Really, I did
learn that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And is pork kind of, is the top tier beef cuts go up? Is pork kind of the next supplement that you see kind of as a second choice?
Yeah, and it's really funny. So we started offering pork about 4 years ago. So we've been at the beef game a little bit longer, and we thought, we were getting requests for it from customers. So we said, what the heck, we'll try it. And initially we thought it's gonna subtract from our beef business, right?
Mm-hmm.
It actually did the opposite of that. It brought us more customers. And then last year we also started doing some chicken. Some broilers, pastured chicken, and that brought in even more. We'll sell eggs sometimes, which is hilarious. I haven't sold eggs since I was 7 years old, right? We don't sell them because of the money, right? It's not because of the cash transaction. It's we sell them, we offer them, because the more you can fill that customer's shopping cart, the more they're willing to come back to you.
Sure.
So it's, oh, you've got a dozen eggs. Oh, you've got sausage. Let's get breakfast for tomorrow. Oh, you've got steaks and beef too. This is great. So it just kind of snowballs. Yeah. Right.
That's awesome. So I think one of the biggest things in agriculture is they go to the local supermarket and they see the cost of beef, and they immediately think that the end producer, like yourself, is just making all this money because beef prices keep going up and up.
Right.
But that's not really truly what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe give people some insight on the more commercial side of things, like how it varies from what you all do.
Yeah.
Because the end producer is not the one making all that money when it goes that route.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question and point. Something we need to elaborate on. So the beef industry as a whole is very segmented, especially compared to most other livestock industries that have become more vertically integrated. Right, wrong, or otherwise, that's just the way it is, right? We see it in dairy, we see it in pork, we see it in eggs, and we see it in the broiler industry with chicken. But I like to call the beef industry still is kind of the Wild West of livestock proteins, right?
Okay.
Because there's so many people involved with it, not just on the production end, but also to get to the consumer, right? It's very segmented. So obviously starts on a cow-calf level with that calf being born on a farmer ranch here in the United States, or, Canada, wherever you are, Mexico. And then, a lot of producers will sell those calves at 8 to 12 months of age. They'll go into another segment, a background or stocker enterprise, where those calves are going to be sorted with other calves that are the same age, same color, same, everything, and they'll make big groups. Those calves will then spend their probably 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months maybe on grass, and then they'll start actually getting to the feedlot. So that is a misconception. A lot of people think that we raise beef, even store-bought beef, just in the feedlot, and it spends its whole life in there. Most animals don't actually see a feedlot till 15 to 18 months of age, right?
Out of the finishing phase.
Give it the last few months is where they spend their time in that feedlot. And that's for a little bit of production efficiency, obviously, there. So then from there, it's going to go to a processor, right? And then from the processor, it's going to go to a purveyor, then to a retailer, on out to, Joe Smith Consumer or Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a lot of people touch it.
A lot of people touch it. A lot of people get a little piece of the pie. Exactly. So absolutely, when you buy that ribeye for $18 at Kroger or Meijer or wherever you go, a fraction of that $18 is going to that farmer rancher. Absolutely.
And that's what I don't think a lot of people realize is there's a lot of hands in it, but the end producer that raised that beef is not always getting what they think it is. So.
Absolutely. And beef prices are a little bit higher right now. I'm sure most people have noticed. Cattle prices, live cattle prices are higher and have been for 2 years, and that's largely due to just the inventory. National cow herd is so down right now. Simple supply and demand there.
And I think a lot of that came from the fires out west a couple of years ago. That's one thing I don't think people realize is any commodity, whether it be eggs or whatever, it takes a long time for cycles to change. So something today may not directly have an effect on something for some time, but they can't just change it overnight. It's not like a widget and make more of it. It takes time.
Absolutely. And especially the beef cattle, where we have such a long generational interval or turnover, right?
Yep.
We have 9-month gestation period before that cow even gives birth to that calf. And then it's going to be another 24 months till we really see what we have in that animal, whether it's a heifer that we retain that's going to have a calf at 24 months of age, or it's that fat steer going to the processor at 24 months of age. So, 24 months plus 9 months. I mean, you've got, some time.
You're looking 30 months out really before you're trying to plan. So a business perspective, that's got to be super tough.
Absolutely. And like you said, nationally, the wildfires, and just one thing I'd like to touch on, the aging, population, I guess you could say, of ranchers and farmers across the U.S. A lot of ranchers, farmers 60 plus are looking to get out, selling out, and there's nobody there to come in and take their place.
Yeah.
So there's a huge void. So please, wherever you're listening to, support young people or beginning people. It's not all just young people. I know a lot of middle-aged folks that are also trying to get into agriculture too, or buy a small farm and get started. So new and or beginning farmer, rancher, I guess I should say. try to at least be supportive and at least give them a pat on the back.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that was you all basically getting started.
Yeah.
In a new town for you, but as a first gen here, so
right.
That's interesting to say the least. So one of the other practices you mentioned was kind of like what you're doing as far as the environment and doing things right. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know farmers sometimes don't always get the best rap from the public media, but for the most part, every farmer I know wants to do what's right for the animal and what's good for the environment.
Absolutely. Well, let me start off by, I guess I need to preface this. I don't claim to be an expert on anything, okay? And I'm learning every single day. All I can speak about, or what I'm qualified to speak about, is what we've done and what I've learned.
Sure.
And what I've messed up and what I've done right.
When you mess up, you probably learn more than
absolutely. So absolutely the best classroom there is. So, but like you said, the vast majority, right, 99.9% of farmers and ranchers are trying to do the right thing by their land, the environment, the families that they're feeding, plus their own families. Okay. So oftentimes we hear that word sustainability. Nobody really knows what it means, and I feel like it probably gets overused a lot. But to me, sustainability is the economy, right? Finances. It is the environmental side, the ecological side. Okay. And then there's the social piece to it, right? The community piece to it. So I think to truly be sustainable, we have to think about each three of those pieces there. Okay. So what we do to try to check each three of those boxes, and again, I'm no expert on it, but we do several, I guess, kind of unique things. We're very big on pasture rotation and pasture management and our grassland management. If we raise better grass, manage better grass, that also means we have better soil quality.
Okay.
Less erosion, and we can do this really cool thing called carbon sequestration, right? Where we are removing carbon literally from the atmosphere. Now, we all know a lot of carbon in the atmosphere is not bad. So that's one carbon sink where we can hold carbon. The other is in our ground, in our soil. So by better grass management, by pasture rotation, what we're able to do is bring down more of that carbon from the atmosphere and put it into the ground, which is actually twofold. It's good for our soil and our ground. Builds it's organic matter essentially, right? But then it's also good because we're keeping it out of the atmosphere, thus lowering greenhouse gas emissions.
And it'll be less man-made fertilized too that way.
Absolutely. So we can cut back on synthetic fertilizer. Nothing wrong with it. If you're using it, great.
It's just expensive.
But it's expensive, right? Yeah, it's expensive, and it does have a little bit of a carbon footprint because it has to be transferred or transported. So
exactly.
That is one thing. A few years ago, we completely cut out all synthetic fertilizer from the farm. So no, well, I'll take that back. We do use some on hay fields, but that's it. And our hay fields are very minimal nowadays.
Okay.
That's something else I can talk about. So pasture rotation, the use of annual grasses, annual forages, some that grow better in like the summer, some that grow better in like the winter. We also use those a lot too. With that, we also converted the farm that we actually bought. It's 99 acres. We converted that from cropland back to pasture, which is really unusual. Most of the time it's going the other way. Actually, this has been cropped for almost 50 years. We put it back into perennial forages, which has been quite the process to say the least. It's been tough. It's been tough, and there's not many people doing it. So it's not like you can call up somebody and ask them,
what to do.
Say, well, 5 years into this, is this what we should be expecting or not? And there's not a lot of research done on that either. So those are all things we're doing. The carbon sequestration, the rotation. Our winter feeding looks a little different. So most people traditionally feed hay near a barn in a lot, stuff like that. We adopted a method 4 years ago called bale grazing, which is where we set bales out in a grid on a field. We move the cows to those bales instead of the other way around. Okay. That spreads out our fertility across these fields in the wintertime. And then we strategically pull back in the spring to let those fields rejuvenate. And that's a big reason why we've been able to cut back synthetic fertilizers on our pasture fields. We're actually a satellite farm with University of Kentucky for some bale grazing research, and we're about to enter our third year of that research. Okay. So I always wanted to do a research-based master's program, didn't get the chance because we started this business venture. Now I kind of feel like I'm
getting it in a way there.
I'm getting that, in a way. So,
okay. So talk about the other two items that you're kind of doing there in addition to just the environmental side of things.
Yeah,
just briefly for people.
Yeah, as far as sustainability goes.
Yes, well, or just like the other two things, and just
yeah, absolutely. So, and again, let me go back and I just talked about these different things we do on the farm for environmental reasons. And I almost feel bad when I say this. We didn't start out doing these to necessarily save the planet or save the earth. Okay. We did them because we're first generation farmers that every decision we make is financially motivated because it has to. It literally has to. Agriculture is a very, very tough business. You're right. And especially when you're kind of rebooting that enterprise, and doing that first generation, you have to be very good with numbers and maybe think outside the box sometimes. So that's really why we adopted some of these practices, was simply just because the economics worked out.
I got you.
The icing on the cake was it's actually also good for the environment too, right?
Just an added
so benefit. It's an added benefit, absolutely. So, but it was very much financially motivated. So, I tell people don't make me out to be a saint. It was dollars and cents motivated first, but also it's very good for the environment as well. So, on the economic side, obviously doing this local direct to consumer marketing, we try to buy local as well, obviously for the things that we need to bring it to the farm and support other farmers too. But I think that's a big piece, economically. It's just trying to keep that dollar as local as we can, right? And make supporting
small towns so special and unique.
Yes, and
local businesses.
I think that's been a big reason why a lot of them, or so many of them, right, have dried up in certain areas of the country. It's just that local dollar did not stay there. The people did not stay there, and completely dried up, that driving force. But we could probably have a whole other episode on that. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, let's leave it there for
so on the social side, obviously community is a big thing for us. I feel especially grateful for this particular community that we live in. So giving back is a big part to it. So I volunteer with some 4-H groups in E-Town here in a neighboring county, Hardin County. I do the livestock judging. I help the kids with some of the project animals for 4-H. So that's one of the things we do. And then here locally with our Cattlemen's Association, serve as vice president of that. And then we also try to get involved in some other local functions as well too. We don't have a whole lot of money to always give causes, but we can also give our time.
Exactly.
And so that's what we try to do.
Than the dollars. So.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
So
we're kind of talking about community as we kind of wrap things up.
Yeah.
Tell us what are some of your most memorable moments that you all have gotten to do on the farm since you started.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we hosted a tour. Actually 2 years ago. We were literally still building fence on that farm because we bought 9 acres of corn stalk. So we had to put up a barn, pour gravel, get water, get grass. We didn't have any grass, fence, the whole nine. So, I was pretty nervous about hosting this tour. These people approached me from Missouri. There's a group, I think they represented like 3 counties in Southwest Missouri, and the organizer was with the University of Missouri, and he said, hey, you're going to be kind of on our trail. We're coming through Kentucky and then looping back through Indiana and Illinois, and we want to see somebody doing direct-to-consumer marketing. And I was like, okay, sure, you're welcome to, I guess. It's like there's not a
lot to see
if you're going to come to this fancy place, right?
Yeah.
So to say the least, I was pretty nervous. I was pretty apprehensive about this group of 60 showing up in this huge tour bus from St. Louis, Missouri, to bring this group from Southwest Missouri there, these farmers and ranchers. And, a couple things, they were so appreciative of us giving our time and what little we did have to give and to show them. We tried to be great hosts. They appreciated that. And we had a number of folks, 67 years old, come up to us and say, keep it up. We're so glad that younger people are getting back into not just agriculture, but also livestock agriculture. They were so, taken back by that. And I was like, wow, I didn't think we were doing anything special, So that was really impactful for us, to see that. and that group that we hosted there. So that was really cool. And then we've had a really number of I guess testimonials or customer feedback. We had one a few years ago that really sort of put things into perspective on our direct to consumer marketing. We had this guy, he kept coming to buying soup bones. It's like, what is this guy doing with beef soup bones, right? Well, they were making bone broth. He had a daughter that was going through cancer treatments. And that's one of the things their doctor recommended that she eat. And she was literally responding better to those cancer treatments because of that. So, talk about something that kind of hits you. That was like, wow, this is actually helping somebody. This is literally helping somebody's health.
And most of the time you don't do anything with those products anyway.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Obviously COVID was a tough time for a lot of folks. It was tough for a lot of families. I think, there may have been some even division going on there in some families and at that time and so much political turmoil in this country. And I had somebody come and say, hey, we bought steaks from you last week and we got our family together. It was the first dinner we'd had in the last 2-3 years together. And, we kind of made amends and opened a meal and shared a good meal with one another. So that's really cool.
That is.
And, I could talk a little bit on seed stock side, but I think those probably going to make the most.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. So tell us exactly kind of like how they can get in touch with you, how your products are sold, and then how they can find more about what you all are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can check our website out. It's smithfamilyfarmky.com.
Okay.
So super generic and easy to remember.
It works.
Smith is one of those tough names, but yeah, I think they'll be able to remember that. We also have a Facebook page, Smith Family Farm KY. Okay. We're not super big on social media. It's just not really our cup of tea. And I think you have to be careful, at least in our market space. I think it could be a time sink. And I think it was a time sink when we really tried to go all in on it. So we just we have a Facebook. That's about it.
That's okay. That's okay.
And then, our contact is on the website.
Put in their photos and everything there.
Yeah, please. If they have any questions, contact me about that, about any of our products. If they just want to talk about cattle or farming or just whatever. If you're having a tough day on the farm and want to talk, I've probably been there too. So we all have. So,
and as far as buying the products, they can do it at farmers markets, and they can also contact directly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a vendor at the Hardin County Farmers Market in E-Town. It's very, very good market. It's one of the best in the state. We sell there on Saturdays and Wednesdays, but we also offer home deliveries and drop-offs.
Okay.
So again, you can just go to our website, call us, text us, shoot us a message on Facebook, shoot us an email. Hey, I want to order this. We try to eliminate any way that a consumer might say, hey, we're not going to buy from you. So again, customer service, we'll get it to you one way or the other. So we're like the click list for local beef.
Like I said, that's a pretty good way to put it, the click list for local beef.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Kind of as we wrap it up, when you think about the next couple of years, what's some dreams and goals that you maybe want to do to expand, or, what are you and Haley thinking there?
Yeah, that's a really big one, and it's kind of in our name, right? It's Smith Family Farm, and two of the most important things are, 2 of the 3, obviously God first, but then, family and farming, those are right up there, second and third, and then my last name happened to be Smith, so it's literally in our name. We do want to impact people, whether they be related to us or not, in a family sense.
Okay.
We would love to bring in, obviously, whether it be kids of our own or, I've got quite a few nieces and nephews too. So we'd love to bring in a younger person eventually, as we start to get older, but to build the business out enough to where somebody else can come back into it. And it can definitely affect multiple families and in a positive sense, and provide a place for them to come and be. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, I think that's a good spot to end on.
I did have a song idea for a theme song for our farm. As you well know, farming can be a lot of ups and downs, and since we're literally just building infrastructure at one place and we're always constantly working on stuff, some days just go awry. So I guess Born to Be Wild Well, it would probably be a good theme song for our farm because you just never know what's going to happen.
You got to roll with the punches.
We've got a lot going on, so that's right.
Gotcha. Well, we'll end it there. I appreciate you so much for coming on, Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot to you and Haley. And hopefully the community continues to wrap around you and help you grow and reach those dreams.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. We'll do the same for the community as well. So,
all right. Thanks, Ben.
All right, thank you.
So you've got a cool story to tell, something about our community that makes it strong and unique. You have a business. You know someone that has a really cool story about the history of our community or anything else. Well, we want to tell that story on the podcast. So do us a favor and visit smalltownboldstories.com so that we can tell that story next and you get to hear it. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Small Town Bold Stories podcast, brought to you by Next Home Chisholm Realty. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and we'll catch you next time with more bold stories from the heart of our hometowns.